What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to be shooting at some solid concrete blocks with my AR-10 chambered in .308 Winchester, and I'm going to be using some M80 ball rounds from Ammo Inc. And I'm going to be shooting at these concrete blocks from 500 yards away, and I want to see if those M80 ball rounds will penetrate through these solid concrete blocks from 500 yards away. Now, I've already shot these blocks from 100 yards away and they punched right through. So I'm just curious if that M80 ball round will have enough energy to smash through these 4x8 by 16 inch solid concrete blocks at 500 yards. Okay, check that out. Just solid concrete. If you want to see the video where I shot through these from 100 yards away, I'll leave a link in the top right corner. And these M80 ball rounds are going to have an impact energy of around 1,000 foot-pounds at this distance and an impact velocity of around 1,650 feet per second. And I'm going to be using my POF Rogue with a 16-inch barrel, and this ammo has a muzzle velocity of 2,650 feet per second and a muzzle energy of 2,350 foot-pounds. So let's see what happens here, guys. Let's see if that Full Metal Jacket M80 ball round from Ammo Inc. will penetrate through these solid concrete blocks, 4 inches of solid concrete, 500 yards. What do you guys think? All right, guys, let me just show you the rifle I'm using in the ammo. So this is my POF Rogue chambered in .308. It has a 16-inch barrel, and I'm using this Ammo Inc. 150 grain Full Metal Jacket, basically an M80 ball. And I've chronographed this one out of my 16-inch barrel. I get 2,650 feet per second. And that's what they look like. And I got my Silencer Co. Omega 300 on the rifle. Love that suppressor. Excellent rifle. Extremely accurate. No complaints about this rifle. Alright, guys. So I got to do a 10 MOA adjustment. I have my rifle zeroed at 200 yards. And I got about a 50-inch drop at 500 yards. So I got to hold it high, 50 inches or so. So I'm going to hold high 10 MOA. All right, guys, so I made a hit with my first shot, and there's the block on the ground, and it appears the bullet did not penetrate through. Okay, you can see what happened was it hit the block and it left like a big hole, took a big chunk out of it, but it did not pass completely through. And then when the block fell, it fractured, okay? But it basically just penetrated maybe, I would say that's probably about an inch into the concrete block, okay? So it didn't zip through completely like at 100 yards. And so what I think I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put one of these blocks at 300 yards and we'll see if we can't penetrate through cleanly at 300 yards. So what I actually did was I just took all these pieces and reconstructed the block for you so you could see how much damage that M80 ball round did to this block at 500 yards. You could see it still took a huge chunk out, okay? But it did not pass completely through, but it took that whole chunk out, okay? So I bet if I hit it again in the same spot, it probably would break after another 1 or 2 shots. But you can see it just took a big chunk out. Took about 2 inches off this block, so pretty impressive. But it actually just went in a little bit, okay? You can see my finger here, all right, just so you could see the comparison. So it penetrated in just about an inch or so, and then the kinetic energy of the bullet just breaking apart broke out a huge chunk of concrete from the side of the block, okay? So pretty interesting, all right? So no penetration at 500 yards with the M80 ball with a muzzle velocity of 2,650 feet per second and a muzzle energy of 2,350 foot-pounds. And this bullet hit this block at around 950 foot-pounds and around 1,650 feet per second. I kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to pass through because I've shot these blocks before with 44 Magnum bear loads, and those 44 Magnum hardcast bear loads have a muzzle energy of around 1,000 foot-pounds and pretty much got the same effect. So I'm going to move the block closer, either 300 or 200 yards, and let's see if we can't penetrate through at a little bit closer distance. But still, I'd say that's pretty impressive for 500 yards to take this big of a chunk out the side of the block. It's pretty impressive. All right, guys, so I placed the block at 300 yards, and those M80 ball rounds are going to have an impact energy of around 1,400 foot-pounds at this distance. So that would be like a plus P 44 Magnum, like a buffalo bore plus P 44 Magnum. And the velocity at this distance, the impact velocity, is going to be around 2,000 feet per second. So let's see if that's going to be enough to cleanly penetrate through this block. All right, guys, here we go. 300 yards, 4-inch thick concrete block, 308 Winchester M80 ball, 16-inch barrel. Let's see what happens here. Will it penetrate cleanly through, or will it just take out a chunk again? Let's see what happens here, guys. All right, guys, so I got a perfect hit on this block. We got some chunks over here, got some chunks over there, so let's take a look, see what happened here. So it appears that I can't tell which side I hit, but check that out, guys. That's pretty impressive. I'm gonna actually collect these little chunks and I'm going to try to reconstruct the block and then we'll take a closer look. So let me do that. All right, guys. So I reconstructed the block, and looks like it did not really pass clean through. It just smashed the block just like at 500 yards, but you can see it actually took out a lot more concrete with it. You can see the massive entrance hole here. Okay, so the bullet came in and it just blew apart the whole top of this block. It's pretty crazy. So here's my finger, just to show you guys how deep it went in. Definitely went in a little bit deeper than at 500 yards and a lot more destruction to the block. But it did not pass cleanly through like at 500 yards. So my guess is that probably at 200 yards, it would probably pass clean through. And what I'm actually going to do is I think I'm going to take this leftover piece here. I'm going to put it at 200 yards and take another shot at 200 yards. But this is pretty interesting. Look at that destruction. That's just a massive amount of concrete. Here's my fist for comparison. I mean, it just took out a fist-sized chunk of concrete. So even though it didn't pass clean through, if you were on the other side of this, you would probably be okay. Because as you can see, it didn't go all the way through. So you'd be okay. You might get hit with some fragments of concrete, but you probably wouldn't get hurt too bad. You might get some bullet fragments, possibly some jacket material. But that's pretty impressive, guys. 300 yards to do this kind of damage. Pretty impressive. From a 16-inch barrel, 308. I'd say that's pretty good. So I'm going to take this large piece on the bottom and I'm going to put it at 200 yards. And let's see what happens at 200 yards. All right, guys, let's see what happens at 200 yards. 4-inch thick concrete block, M80 ball, 16-inch AR-10. All right, guys, 200 yards, 4-inch thick concrete block, 16-inch barrel, AR-10, 308, M80 ball. Let's see what happens here. All right, guys, so this is the block at 200 yards. You can see a big difference in the damage to the concrete block. And one huge difference is that you have this massive exit hole. Okay, you see that? And so I believe this was my entrance hole. I think it came in and hit right here and just blew this whole piece of concrete out. Here's my fist, just to show you guys for comparison. And I have big hands, 6'2", 265-pound guy. My hands are large, so That's a massive hole. Here's my foot just for comparison. I wear size 14, okay? So I would say, that's probably 6 to 8 inches in diameter, that hole. So huge difference between 300 and 200 yards. And I actually loaded the wrong ammo. I loaded some Norma M80 ball, which is about 100 feet per second slower than the Ammo Inc. So at 200 yards, according to my ballistics calculator, that Norma M80 ball hit this block with about 1,500 foot-pounds of energy and around 2,150 feet per second of velocity. Now, if I use the Ammo Inc. like I was supposed to, but I wasn't paying attention, I would have hit this block with 1,650 foot-pounds, so another 150 foot-pounds more and another 100 feet per second faster. So the damage would have been even greater. So pretty interesting results. So it looks like if somebody's shooting at you with a 308, as long as you're at least 200 yards away or 300 yards away, you should be fine. Obviously depends what kind of barrel length they have on their rifle and what kind of ammo they're using, how hot the ammo is. But if they're just using like an AR-10 with like a 16 to 20 inch barrel, you should be safe beyond 300 yards or 200 yards, depending on the ammo they're using. You probably get some fragments, but you probably won't get hit with that bullet unless you're like right next to the concrete. But if, let's say, you're in a room and you're a few feet away, you probably would be okay as long as you're at least 200 or 300 yards away from the shooter. But this is pretty impressive at 200 yards, guys. That is just insane. Look at that destruction, guys. That is just impressive. Just took a huge chunk out of this block, and it definitely passed through. If you were standing right here, or maybe just a few feet away, you probably would have got hit with some fragments, or maybe the whole bullet itself. And I can't really tell which side is the entrance hole, which side is the exit hole. It's hard for me to tell. I tried to reconstruct it as best as I can, but I mean, that is just insane. Okay, here's my hand for comparison. Check that out. It's pretty impressive. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. If you want to see more 308 ballistics tests and penetration tests, check out my 308 Winchester playlist. I'll leave a link in the top right corner of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what other types of tests you want me to do with the 308. I've already done sheet metal, I've done drywall, I've done plywood, I've done 2x10 lumber. So let me know what else you want me to shoot. I've also done bricks as well. But take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.